All right. Hello. Hello out there. Welcome. I'm Aaron from Solace. Happy to be back for yet another office hours APAC edition. It is noon here in Singapore on January, what is the date? 27th, 2021. Hope you're doing well out there wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in. We are broadcasting live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Periscope. Today, I have a special guest joining me today, a good friend and colleague, Shrikant. Say hello.
Hey everyone. Hi
Hey.
Aaron. Thanks for having me here.
All right. Thanks for being here, Shrikant. So give it, hey, we've known each other for what, 8 years now or so? Give us,
Eight,
who
eight
are you? Where
nine
are you
years. Yeah.
from? Yeah, give me your story here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Shrikant, and I work for Solace's professional services team. So by professional services, it means once you have purchased our product, and you want to go into implementation, design your applications to make most of the platform be ready for production. All of that stuff. So that's what I do with customers. Most of the customers I've worked with are in Singapore, but then I've also been doing a lot of stuff with customers in India, a bit with customers in Australia, and now we're getting some customers in Philippines and all of that. So really exciting.
Yeah, very cool. And we met in London, so we both moved to London for a while to work with another customer there. So, yep, in the trenches, done the level 1, level 2 kind of frontline
All
tech
of that.
support. So you've seen it all. You've seen all the gory details and done a lot of training with customers as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been doing so our training team is based out of North America. So for all the trainings that are for customers in Asia Pacific, especially now that we are all remote, so it's all virtual. So I take care of that. So do a fair bit of trainings. These are towards the top of our engagement with customers. So educating them on what the product is, what you can do with the product, how you can get the best out of it, all the little neat tips and tricks that we've gained from our time working with the customers, like you said. So yeah, that's training's also fun. Yeah, I
Yep.
wish
So
we can travel again and do all that face to face, but
pretty
hopefully soon.
soon. Soon. So today's office hours, yeah, we're here for an hour. We're here to answer any and all questions you have. We're going to be taking a look at the Solace community, where people generally post up questions they have. Obviously, Shrikant, you were just doing some training recently, you were saying, and had some questions for customers that might be worth going over. I had a
Yes, we
workshop
do that.
last night actually with a European customer, and they had a few questions on topics and routing. So yeah, we got quite a bit to talk about. If you're out there, say hello. Leave a comment in the chat. Say, I don't know, ask where you're tuning in from, where you're watching us, and if you have any questions, we are here for an hour to answer whatever questions you might have. So I'm gonna try to. I'm driving multiple screens here. I'll try to keep on top of it, but yeah, let's kick things up very quickly. I'll pop over to the Solace community just to kind of it's one where I usually start these things. So solace.community is your one-stop shop for all things Solace in terms of Q&A, questions, upcoming events, notifications. Our new Python API is going to be released very, very soon, and there's a couple threads on that. So if you're a Python user out there, you should check that out. Yeah, sign up for Solace Community. It's totally free. Come say hi, post in the community, post in the introductions thread, say who you are.
Yeah, and it's not just a place to ask questions. If let's say that you ran into a problem when using Solace and then you figure it out by yourself, then go in there and post it. I believe we have a section called tips and tricks. So whatever you've learned, you can share it with the rest of the community. If you ran into something, then there's pretty high chance that others will also run into it. So yes, share the knowledge.
Exactly. Thanks. I post in the tips and tricks a lot actually. I got a couple. There's one for me. Here's a few more. The biggest dump. Hey, Shrikant, did you ever see this one? I was trying to
No,
figure.
no.
No. So,
That's a
so
funny title.
users of our Solace APIs will know the convenience feature dump, which
Hmm.
essentially just
The
prints out
message
the
down.
message in a text format. So
Right.
I wanted to see how many different fields and things I could set in order to get the largest dump. So do you want to see it? Have you seen this?
No, I actually, why don't you bring that up? So
Check this
I
out.
know that within our message structure, we have like a variety of fields that we set. So normally we set the common ones like, uh, the message sequence number, the destination for sure, the message delivery mode, and all of that stuff. But then there's so many other fields that you just don't use. And there may be that one use case where you find that super useful and help you solve.
Exactly. The majority of these fields and flags and bits and bytes you'd never see, and you never really
Hmm.
need to use them. I actually found one that I didn't know about. Application message type. This one. This is new. I didn't know this. It's a string. Um, this is it's useful in JMS usually, but it's it's in all of our standard Solace native
Hmm.
messages as well. But yeah, this is how large I could make it. We have the user property map, the user data, the binary and XML payload attachments, all of these various settings. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's.
So you can use the user property map to supply custom key value pairs that will be populated in the message header. So as a consumer, when you receive the message, you can quickly pop into the message header and retrieve these key value pairs and make a decision on processing rather than passing the payload. So quick question,
Exactly.
Aaron, is this the same dump that you get from running our SDK perf tool? Is
Uh,
this SDK perf?
More or less. No, it's not SDK perf, but SDK perf uses this, so it should look more or less the same. Yeah, they didn't
Okay.
rewrite this feature for SDK perf. So, yep, if you're using SDK perf, this should look very familiar. This particular format here. This is Java, but all of our other APIs also have a dump.
Yeah. And for
Phone
those
Ash.
who
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
just a final thought on that. For those who don't know, so SDK Perf is a utility that's supplied by Solace. That's very useful for simulating date events being published into Solace, consume events of Solace. So for people familiar with networks, for example, SDK Perf is the ping of the Solace world. If you have set up a broker and you simply want to test if it's working, you want to test if you can handle a certain rate of messages being pumped in or being consumed out, just use SDK Perf, and it's available on our website as Aaron is sharing. So it's free for download, and there are a lot of cool things that you can do with SDK Perf. And I think we could talk an hour about just SDK Perf and how it's helped us in so many places.
That's right. We could. Where is it? It's not under management.
I think it'll be right at the bottom under tools. I think that's the last section in the
They've changed the
downloads.
downloads page
Yeah,
recently.
they've
Yeah,
re
there it is.
skinned this. Oh, there it is at the bottom. SDK Perf.
So yeah. Anyway, I just want to say hi to Paul. He's out there. Hello, Paul. How's it going? Thanks for tuning in. We also have an anonymous user, a LinkedIn user, saying hello, hello back. Thanks. Do you guys
Hello,
have a
anonymous
question?
user.
Happy to answer any questions out there. We are going to be chatting all things Solace, event-driven application design for the next hour. So let us know if you have a question. Put it up in the chat. Yeah. So SDK Perf. This is a command line utility, super useful, and really a performance testing tool, as compared to the Try Me functionality that a lot of people know, that's built into the broker PubSub Plus Manager, the GUI admin tool. You can actually kind of do ping pong type tests in there. A little bit more user friendly because it's graphical. If I pulled it up here, let's see. Let's go into Solace Cloud here just really quickly. Free to sign up, free to join. Hey Shrikant, by
Yeah,
the way, can you read my URLs? Is the resolution too high or too low? I mean,
yeah, it's quite small.
okay.
Can't I need to squint really hard and see console.solace.cloud. Yeah.
But you can read the rest of the
Yeah,
screen. Right?
that's because I know what the URL is. But
All
yes.
right. So yeah. So the ping test. I mean, that's a great kind of represent. It's even SDK Perf is even more than that. It's definitely a performance power testing tool.
Yeah, certainly.
Uh, versus the Try Me, which is a bit more of like a ping ping pong type of thing.
Yeah, so the try me is, yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, you're right. So try me is more of the ping test. Let me just check if things are working. So SDK perf is really useful in, let's say, whenever you're using, whenever you're using Solace as an event distribution platform, you're building a distributed application. So you have some producers, event producers that are being built by another team. Your team may be building the event consumer, and you may have built your consumer, done its unit testing. And right before integration testing, you now want to know for sure that your application can handle the transaction rate that's coming in. So in one of the customer use cases, we just fired up SDK Perf. It's a command line tool. So maybe Aaron, I think you want to give a demo, and you can just just by supplying a few different parameters, you can like continuously pump in. We were doing like 10,000 messages per second for a message size of 512 bytes with a particular payload. You can just pump it in, let it run. So now I have my stream of events coming in. I can even specify a dummy payload, and now I can see if my consumer can keep up. Do when I increase when there's a spike in traffic, do more consumers additionally get spun up, for example, and so on. So yes, certainly a performance testing tool, and there are lots and lots of things a lot of scenarios that we can simulate using it.
I'm just having to correct the connection things here, because there we go. By default, it doesn't know exactly how to populate that properly. So here's the little try me tab. I have a video on YouTube that shows you how to use this. Super easy. Hello / greater than for our wildcards, and now over here I can publish on hello world. Publish that, and there we go. So easy way to do ping pong testing through your broker through these are both little WebSocket applications, right? So these are actually two different, it's not going in the browser, there's actually some magic sauce happening here under the covers. And yeah, that's what's happening. Anyway, that's a little bit about SDK Perf and Try Me. If you're keen on testing your Solace broker, you want to actually, without having to do any coding, it's a very easy way to inject some messages into your broker and make sure that you are actually, it's receiving them. Wildcards. Yes. There you go. All right. Okay. Hey, Srikanth, let's, while we're waiting for some questions from our viewers, I'm assuming there's dozens or hundreds out there. Maybe they're shy. What's a question you got recently that we can maybe talk about that came up often in your training?
Yeah, quite a few. Actually, I have a list of them right here. So the first one actually is related to the one you're showing on screen right now, topics and wildcards. So this is the one that comes up quite frequently in the first few conversations with customers. So normally people think of okay, I shouldn't generalize, no offense to anyone, but people think of topics as a flat string, right? It's just as an event producer, it's a destination where I send my messages, send my events to, and then if a consumer is interested, they'll simply subscribe to that topic, and hey, I have published subscribe over here. But then a topic is more than just a flat string, as you've shown in your diagram. So a topic should not be thought of as a destination where I'm sending my events, but more as a way of describing my event. So some people even call it an event tag. So for example, let's say your let's talk about bus data. I know you have that coming here, and I'm like
here before check it. You can see my slide, right? It's this is I have a few slides that speak to what you're. A lot of people, this is what they think of as a topic, right? It's a label.
It's a label, yes.
It's a single thing. And it's a very kind of coarse grained, just destination. It's not very specific about what is in there. Payments, is that a topic? I mean, what type of payment? Where is it from? Who's generating that? Solace topics are much more descriptive, right? It's this is what you're talking about, right? It's kind of more metadata for
exactly.
The message.
Yeah, you can think of topics as the metadata of the event you're sending out. So topics are present in the message header, and they describe the event that is being published out. And like Aaron showed before, a topic can be split into multiple levels. So you can use the / to separate them. And you can use this to describe the kind of event that you're publishing out. So can you go to the bus example?
I like this one. I made this one new yesterday
Oh,
for
okay,
this
that's new.
my
Okay, go on.
manufacturing customer. Yeah, so
Okay.
we have different levels. So, like when you build your kind of architecture, one of the big things you kind of need to plan is the topic structure, the hierarchy,
Hmm.
or also called the
For sure.
taxonomy, right? And this describes the type of data that's going to be moving around. And Solace topics kind of have this multi-level kind of construction. And yeah, so this is one example, right? Maybe not best practice, but I have the company as the first level. I might have the department that this message is from, the system that it's related to. I could have a version, a topic version number as part of that. Maybe the verb, is this a new, is it an update, is it a change? And then the object that it's describing,
The
right? So
object.
kind of
Yeah.
a very descriptive topic. This, just looking at this topic, you probably have a pretty good idea about what this message contains, right? What's it for?
Right. So the other way of looking at it is from, let's say you're supporting the system, you're on operations. I know I think about that a lot because that's how I started with Solace, like, L1, L2 support. So when you're troubleshooting and you want to know what is the topic that an application is subscribing to, and where does it belong to? So if your topic is well structured, like the example that Aaron has shown you, just by looking at this in 2 seconds, I can say that this is change update data being published by the manufacturing department for the O-ring object, whatever that is. Sorry, I don't know that. But yeah, so a topic should be it should be self-descriptive. By you need to be able to tell what it does by just looking at it. That's a good topic. If it's just like a few levels and it's like super vague, that's not a good topic.
That's right. And the really important thing about having this kind of descriptive topic is that on the consumer side, because we have wildcard support, both single level and multi-level, you can be very specific about the topics you want to receive, subscribing to exactly this, or using a wildcard to subscribe to, something a little bit more complicated, right? These slides here are from a workshop that I did with Mark, my boss, and someone else. Actually, our anonymous LinkedIn user was actually saying, "Yep, the good topics are definitely a good point of discussion in the Solace world. It is the way that we route the data, topic routing. That's what
Right.
Solace brokers are, topic routing brokers. And so, yeah, live coding session from a few weeks ago. I definitely talked about some of this, and we talked about how to use dynamic topics in Spring Cloud Stream. So if you're a Spring user, check out our video from like a few weeks ago. Thanks, anonymous LinkedIn user. I wonder if it's someone we know. But yeah, so here's a wildcard example, right? So you can see here, I just made this up. Maybe it's not the, again, best practice, but you can pick and choose using wildcards where you need them specifically, or not, what type of data that you want to receive.
Yep. So there are two types of wildcards available in Solace, and you'll see two different special characters here. So in the first example, we have the greater than wildcard at the end. When I call it the greater than, I don't know what the official name for it, but essentially that's a multi-level match wildcard. So here, as a consumer, I'm saying that give me all the manufacturing events which with regards to master data and of type version 1 and anything else that comes after that. So essentially in my
Dot, 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 dot,
topic
dot.
string dot, right? So in my topic string, I'm the topics or the different levels are more coarse grained towards the left and more fine grained towards the right. So you can specify a prefix like in this example. So and anything else that comes after that. So greater than is my multi-level wildcard. And
Mhm.
then the second type of wildcard we have is the star or the asterisk, which is the single level wildcard. So you may want to subscribe to a particular topic where a particular level can be anything. So Acme slash star, which is from, so the second level corresponds to the department. So that was the
Right.
manufacturing department. So this means I want stuff from all the departments. And the cool thing is that you can also mix and match both the star and greater than, as Aaron has done in a second example.
That's
And
right.
finally, to finish off, you can also use the star as a suffix match. So in the third level, he specifies master star. So that could be master data, master. I'm thinking of master something right now.
Do you call this a suffix mat? I call this a prefix wildcard because you specify
Ah,
the prefix to the wildcard. I know I think I've done some Googling on the terminology and it's a little vague.
yeah,
I always
it's a
refer
bit
to this as
vague.
a prefix. So you call it a
Okay.
suffix. That's interesting. Even
Yeah.
even in Solace, we disagree on the terminology sometimes. But yeah, that's the cool thing is that yeah, you can specify some number of characters before the actual wildcard.
Yeah.
And
And as
and
you rightly mentioned, sorry to cut you off, but as you
go ahead.
rightly mentioned, topics are all dynamic. So as a consumer, I can specify one subscription to grab a bunch of events. Then let's say there was a user input which said that no, that I want to consume a different set of events. So I can just add the second subscription, remove the first, and I automatically start getting messages on the second subscription. So it's all dynamic, and there's no admin intervention required. And yeah, I think that's awesome. That's a big benefit from a application developer perspective.
That's right. That's right. And we have different ways of visualizing this topic hierarchy in Solace, right? This is a kind of a banking hierarchy here that one of our that we've come up with, and it's basically kind of yeah from the inside out. You can read that there's kind of like you start at this is the root node, and you kind of move out further towards the edge as you walk down the hierarchy. And I have other examples. We have a bus data one, another
Is this
graphicy
just
one
the sunburst diagram from the portal?
built into the portal. That's right. So this type of visualization you can actually generate from within the Solace PubSub Plus event portal. You can scan an existing Solace broker, and you can actually have it generate this topic structure dynamically from your data. And I have a couple different scans. Actually, if you want a demo, tell you what, there's actually a I will throw a link up into the chat, sgsolace.com/topic. If I can spell correctly, topic. You can take a look at. Here is
Oh
a
yeah.
demo of how this works. I think it's going to go a little slow because I'm streaming and everything. So, yep. And you can click on things, and it'll actually change where that node is, and you can change by number of messages. You can see which messages are the topics are busier, which topics have more messages on them, stuff like that.
So this is a scan that this is like a topic discovery scan that you ran on an existing application, right?
That's right,
And they
exactly.
wanted to know, I guess, when you start off building your applications, porting your applications to Solace, you would have a fair idea of what subscriptions are being used. But then as you start onboarding more applications and everything grows organically, then you just come to this point where, hey, what topics do I have out there? So, and I believe this customer was pleasantly surprised to see so many different topics that they had no idea existed.
That's right. So it's in Solace brokers track a huge number of different metrics, for monitoring and for troubleshooting, number of messages, persistent, not persistent, TCP errors, every queue has a certain number of messages that go through it. But because topics are so dynamic, basically every topic could be unique. There's no built-in way in the broker to actually track all that. It's just you'd have millions or billions of topics possibly. So this is an external tool that basically scans your estate and listens to the topics and builds this type of diagram. So yeah, you can really get a feel for what topics are out there, perhaps if there's any patterns that you want to detect, and just like relative frequency. You can see here that the bus topic is a lot more common than the light rail topic, for example. So you can kind of get insights into your own data, which is pretty neat,
I mean, you can know what are the busy topics, what are the
busy
topics that are
topic.
not so busy, and maybe if I have a busy topic, then I'm going to move the applications on this topic to like their own dedicated broker, for example.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Oh, we have someone tuning in to say hi. Hi, madam.
I'm with them.
Where are you tuning in from? Happy to. Do you have a question for us for Aaron and Shrikant? We're here to answer questions. Otherwise, we're just going to talk about all things Solace
Yeah, we can just talk. So
for our office hours. Yeah, that's talking about some of the good things. So one question I got yesterday was about replay. talking about replay, and does Solace support that? Not a lot of people know that we do.
Yeah.
People that know Kafka, we often get asked about Kafka and how do we compare, and there's a lot of terminology that that Solace uses and Kafka uses, like topics and pub sub. But in terms of the implementation, they're very, very different, right? The way that these two brokers implement these things are quite different. And in Kafka world, the way that they do recovery, if an application crashes or you get, a partition rebalance, you essentially have to rewind back to your last checkpoint, using Zookeeper or using whatever, to kind of checkpoint where you are in the stream, and you have to be able to replay from that position. So in Kafka, message replay is used for recovery. In Solace, we have a much more sophisticated replay capability, on a message by message basis. As applications consume their messages, they acknowledge them one by one, and it allows you to only receive messages that you have not acknowledged yet, right? So much more granular. But replay actually is useful in a number of other situations, not just recovery, right? If you're training some algorithm and you want to kind of tweak it a little bit and then kind of restart from the beginning of the day, replay comes in handy for that. Or give me some other use cases there, Shrikant. Let me
So
think.
one use case that we encountered was actually quite common. So the customer was in financial services, and then they had all of their trade data come in during their production hours. And then what they wanted to do was take this trade data and run it against their applications in lower environments like
Mm-hmm.
UAT or pre-production to make sure that they're running right. So what we could do then was essentially bridge all the data out from one environment to the other. I mean, I know you'll talk about VPN bridges later, but essentially bridge the data to another environment and then essentially run a replay. So then the trade data starts coming in again from 9 a.m. when all the markets come up, and the applications can run on the real trade data. So that's a cool use case.
Yep, that's as training data essentially, right?
Training data.
So
Yeah, the same thing.
yeah,
In fact, what you said.
yeah, it's but like moving it into like a lower environment, that's something that you could easily do using a combination of the replay and, for example, yeah, a VPN bridge to a lower environment with a queue. You could basically just point the replay at that queue and say, blast me all of the data onto that bridge.
Yeah.
Um,
Another one that we encountered was so this time there was an application that was already running in production, and once again this was a consumer on a queue, and they were adding a new component to this application. So basically
mm,
creating a new queue to attract another subset of data, but then due to human error, mistakes can always happen. They forgot one of the, I think there were around 10 topic subscriptions, and one of them was missed out. So when once again when they went live on Monday and data started coming in, they were like, hey, this application new subsystem is getting my getting data on 9 topics, but the 10th one is missing. So obviously, as an admin, you can go in and add the 10th one. So you can start getting events that are published from this point onwards. But what about all of the data that was published from 9 a.m. until this point? So essentially, you want to go back in time, but not for the entire queue, only for that one topic subscription. And
mhm,
as you mentioned, using replay, you can get that fine grained control to replay back the messages just for one particular subscription in the
that's
same
right.
order.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Order is guaranteed and maintained. So, yeah, lots of cool use cases for replay. We definitely have some customers using it. As I said, it's fairly newish, so not everybody knows it's out there. So I always try to tell people, and it's super easy to enable. You just go into your PubSub Plus broker. Let's see here. Because I'm using Solace Cloud, I don't think I can actually do it.
I think it's there in Solace Cloud. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't have permissions. Yeah, see,
Uh,
I think if I was an enterprise, I'm using a developer account, right? So it's
mhm.
you have to either be running the Docker container locally or a VM or a machine image locally, and then it's super easy to do, or be using our enterprise. But yeah, if you're running the Docker container locally, it's literally just how big do you want the replay log? I don't know, 100 gig, and then start. That's it.
That's it.
And
Yeah.
it's running. And now every persistent message published into your broker is going to get a copy of that data.
Yeah,
So
replay,
yeah.
pretty cool feature. And we also
All
have
right.
automatic replay log trimming. So you can specify that you want to store 100 GB of data, and then once 100 GB has been reached, then we'll automatically trim the older messages. Or you could do it by yourself in an ad hoc uh, way. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so Woodham, thanks thanks for tuning in and listening. No questions from your side. If let us know if you have
Yeah.
one. Happy
We'll
to
come up
to
with
hear.
our own questions.
We'll come up with our own questions, exactly. We have the another anonymous LinkedIn user saying some use cases with new healthcare messaging standard integration may good to be aware. This I don't know. We have very few healthcare customers, but through our partners with some of our iPaaS partners who do integration in the healthcare space, there are ways that we do end up talking to healthcare providers and healthcare systems. I can't speak to it personally, but yeah, if you're asking what do I know about these various things, not that much. If
Same. Yeah.
Yeah, same. So yeah,
Same.
healthcare is not something I've worked on the finance side. I've worked on the gaming side. I've worked in transportation and logistics. But in terms of healthcare use cases, I can't really speak to anything from personal experience. So yeah, if you have some details or you want to know a little bit more, um, I would always suggest coming over to the Solace community and ask there. Solace.community is where people kind of go to do Q&A with us. A lot of Solace people hang out here. A lot of us engineers, folks from R&D post. A lot of our field team post here, and it's Solace.community. Easy to sign up, free to sign up, and probably a great place to go to find out more information than just us two. We don't
Yes.
know we don't know everything. So yeah.
Yes. Yes, I think
um,
posting on Solace community is the best bet. And if you can give us a bit more details on what exactly you're trying to do in the healthcare use case or what you're looking for, then we'll give the channel is monitored by the entire engineering team, R&D, and all of that. And depending on where this goes, our friendly account team may want to sit down with you, buy you a coffee, and explore more details.
exactly. Just on that, look. So in Solace community, our colleague Tamimi here posted about the Boomi version 2 connector. Boomi is an iPaaS, an integration platform as a service, and they have a bunch of healthcare customers and use cases and stuff. So yeah, through them, we've touched some various healthcare use cases, but again, personally, I don't know. So integration in terms of that, Boomi is probably a really good way to approach that. Hey, here's one. How much do you know about Rabbit, Shrikant? Rabbit MQ.
Actually, not much about
Okay.
RabbitMQ. I mean, I know that RabbitMQ, like Solace supports AMQP as a protocol, which is an open protocol for queuing. So AMQP 1.0 to be specific.
That's
And
right.
if you have a RabbitMQ application that also uses AMQP 1.0, then you can simply switch back and forth between the two of them because they're talking the same open protocol. I
The
know
thing
that,
is,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, keep going. Yeah.
No, that's it. That's pretty much it that I know. I know that they have these it's also a message broker. So the concepts it's more about mapping the different concepts across RabbitMQ and Solace, right? So the patterns still remain the same. So point
That's
to
it.
point, publish, subscribe, request, reply, all of that. And I think it's more about the terminology.
So, I mean, the thing is, Rabbit uses a different version of AMQP, right? The version that it uses is before it became standardized.
Zero
So
point 0.9 or something, I
nine,
guess.
exactly,
Yeah.
091. And so Rabbit is pretty much the only broker that uses that version. And so they shouldn't even really call it AMQP because it's not the spec. But that said, there are a lot of similarities in how the protocol works, and so there's ways to map on. So yeah, this if you're out there using RabbitMQ and you want to know how certain concepts map to Solace, a lot of it is quite similar actually. They have in memory as well as persistent messages. They do a publish subscribe. They can do kind of load balancing here, which we call a non-exclusive queue
Non-exclusive.
or a shared subscription. Quite a few different ways of slicing and dicing. Obviously, you're going to have some code change, to recode your Rabbit API to a Solace API. Different than, for example, GMS, right? GMS is an interface standard, so you should be able to swap out the jars, and the code shouldn't have to change. A little bit different work when you're actually migrating brokers. So we have a customer asking, or a user here asking about Rabbit. So again, yeah, we get asked competitive things all the time. How do you compare to Kafka? How do you compare to Tibco EMS? How do you compare to Blue? And if you don't have a chance to talk with one of us one-on-one, this is another great place to come, the community, and get some more details there.
On the same note, actually, we were talking about topics earlier. Another question, a common question that I get in my training sessions, discovery sessions, is as an administrator. So when you open the web UI and you go into the queues tab, you can see all the messages that are spooled on this queue, right? However, so we only expose the message, the timestamp it came in, its content size, and all of that. But a common question as an admin, or even as an application monitoring, you want to know what is the content of the message. So what is the content inside this message? Maybe you see that a certain message never gets consumed because maybe the application was receiving the message, couldn't parse it, and then crashed. And so just rebooted, and then that message got delivered again. So so I'm rambling here, but the question essentially is, how can you see the content of a message via an administration UI without actually consuming it?
So this is essentially what you're talking about here.
Exactly, yeah. So you can only see the message headers, the timestamp they came in, the attachment size, but you can't see the payload.
That's right. Yeah, that's a great question. There's a number of solutions. So why don't you talk about one of them, and I'll mention another one or two.
Okay, so the basic solution behind all of these is to use a concept in Solace called a queue browser. So before the queue browser, so normally you have a message consumer, and what a consumer does is binds to a queue, receives a message, and then sends back an acknowledgement saying that, hey, I'm done with this message, and that message is deleted from the queue. So that's your normal consumer. So a queue browser is similar to a consumer, whereby it will receive the message on a queue. However, it does not send back the acknowledgement. So it simply reads the message of the queue. And once it has received the message, it has the copy of the message. So you can unpack the payload, feed it into a UI, display it on the screen. So the basic concept of achieving this is to use a queue browser. And I believe we have samples of the queue browser available on our developer portal. But I think the easiest way to use it is to use the JMS toolbox utility. So that uses the JMS. JMS also has the queue browser as one of its standards. So JMS toolbox, you can just download it. It's free to use. Just drop in the Solace jars and connect it to your broker, and you can browse a queue and see the content of messages. So that's my preferred way of doing it. How about you?
It's not the most beautiful tool though. Like JMS Toolbox has been around for a little while, but it is very fully featured.
It's functional. It's not beautiful.
It's quite powerful. That's right. Now there was some talk about building a queue browser into Solace, into the manager. It hasn't happened yet. I think it's on our roadmap. But the biggest reason I just want to touch on is the reason we don't provide that functionality is for security, right? It's for security that you don't want people with administrative access to the broker, management access, that are able to create queues and usernames, to actually be able to see the production data going through the broker without actually valid client connectivity access information. So there's a very big separation of concerns in terms of security in Solace, where the admin management users are not actually data. They're not also data admins or data users. And those are two very separate things. So.
Right. So yeah, so JMS Toolbox is commonly used. We've also seen a bunch of customers who've taken our API and gone in and fed this data into their own user interface. Build your own UI using your favorite tech stack, and yeah, display the content of the messages in a queue to your different application monitoring teams.
Exactly. That's right. So all of the Solace APIs, the Solace native APIs, right? So we're talking the Java, JCSMP, C, C Sharp, CCSMP. They have the concept of a browser built into them as a convenience function. And if I just quickly pop over to the developer guide, I believe inside receiving guaranteed messages, we can actually see some of the commands that
Yes,
to
it'll be
browse.
under receiving guaranteed messages.
That's right. So yeah, it's essentially you're connecting to the queue and you're receiving data from the queue, but you're not acknowledging. Therefore, you're not deleting messages that are in the queue there. Browsing. Yep. Or if you just go up into the docs here, type in browsing, it'll probably point you to the right place in the
Yeah,
documentation.
creating a
So
browser.
there you go. Okay. Coolio. Hey, we got a question or something. I haven't read it yet. For AMQP, follow their own process. If we update some parameters, then only it will be applicable. If not update any, it will take all default. I don't get it, Mudam. What do you mean? Do you get that, Shrikant? We update some parameters.
Not really. I think it's something to do with, is it related to, like, repointing an application that was using AMQP and another broker to Solace? So if it is if the other broker that you're using follows AMQP 1.0, then you don't need to make any changes. You simply need to just update the URL endpoint that you're connecting to, and drop in the AMQP libraries, and then repoint to Solace. So no changes should be needed. However,
So
if there are a different version, then yes. Sorry, go ahead.
yes. So yeah, so AMQP 1.0 is a protocol. It's a wireline protocol.
Hmm.
Standard that is implemented by Apache Cupid, by Apache Red Hat's ActiveMQ, Microsoft PubSub uses it, a number of other brokers that allow you to essentially do that. It's kind of swap in, swap out best of breed components. And because it's a standard, a wireline standard, just like FTP or HTTP, it means you can kind of use different clients and broker libraries on either end of that connection. So in terms of connections, like in terms of parameters for connection, obviously, yeah, you'd have to change it to, your Solace broker. There might be some other connection parameters, like in Solace, there are quite a few different settings that you can make as part of your connection process. But yeah, there are, because it's a standard, AMQP 1.0 is a standard, there are certain parameters that are specified. And yeah, you should just be able to change your connection details, username, password, and host, and have it be able to connect. So I know that Rabbit, we discussed Rabbit just a second ago, even though it uses the old version of AMQP, the pre-standard version internally, they do expose 1.0 via the Shovel plugin. So
Okay.
Shovel in Rabbit is kind of like our VPN bridge. So you can use it to basically send data to a remote broker to send it somewhere else. And Shovel also provides a 1.0 interface. And I think someone actually linked to it in here. If you just Google
That's good to
Solace Rabbit Shovel, I think you'll actually find it. So if you want an easy way of getting Rabbit to bridge, but yeah, if you have a native 1.0 broker, Solace should be able to support that. And same with MQTT. Solace is MQTT broker where we just rolled out 5.0 support. So MQTT 5.0. A lot of my demos actually use MQTT under the covers. So even though it's a Solace broker, I could actually take my code and run it somewhere else.
know. Or any other compatible MQTT broker.
MQTT broker, yeah. So I have not this demo. This is a Solace demo, but I have some demos that are only use
Like the bus
MQTT. So
monitoring one and all of that.
that's right. So yeah, here's a code lab that shows, okay, so yeah, it's a code lab. So if you head over to codelabs.solace.dev, we have one that shows you how to integrate Rabbit, and yeah, integrating Rabbit and Solace. Cool. Boom, easy. Very cool. Okay, all right. So what else? What time is it? Oh, it's 1:45. We got a bit of time left, so let's go back.
Okay, another one. Okay, yeah, we spoke about browsers. I think that was a good question. So another one that I get is so whenever so this is more from developers, right? So developers can connect to Solace Cloud, as you said, which is our broker that's offered as a SaaS, and they
Mhm.
can use it. And developers can also spin up their own software broker. So now when developers are using the software broker, they see a bunch of objects, right? So you have a bunch of configuration objects as an application to connect to the broker. So there's a username, there's a password. Behind the scenes, there are like profiles and stuff. And then they'll always complain that there's this PSG guy who comes from Solace who keeps saying that do not use the default objects. So for all these objects, we have a default that's there for
That's
ease
right.
of use.
That's
And
right.
this guy says, do not use default, create your own objects, turn them off until you need them, and all of that. So, what are your thoughts on that?
So, I actually got this question last week on our EMEA office
Mm-hmm.
hours. It's a really good one. Let me zoom in here. So this is my local running broker. So I'm not on Solace Cloud. I'm on my local host here, and these are all the different message VPNs that I have
Mm-hmm.
configured. So I have my default. I
There's your
have an
default, yeah.
Aaron, Stats, and a bunch of other ones that are down. And so when you first start with, the first time that you run your broker, the very first time you only have this one, you only have the default. And
Mm-hmm.
this is, inside the default message VPN, you don't even need to specify, there's also under the access control, there's, the default username as well. So essentially default, default, default. This is there and exposed and enabled primarily just for kind of ease of getting started.
Just
This
for
is meant
convenience, yeah.
for convenience, right? So I don't have to do any wacky configuration in the broker. I just start the broker and I can actually run my samples, my Solace samples, or my JMS application, whatever, MQTT application, and it just works out of the box. But
Right.
this is highly recommended only for getting started, for your lab, or your sandbox, for just playing around locally. As soon as you move into any kind of more formal environment, even development, dev, test, prod, don't use default. Create yourself a VPN with a name and create yourself a username. If I go back to my list here of VPNs, I have my Aaron VPN. This is where I actually do
Mm-hmm.
most of my testing. I have a stats VPN where I'm publishing statistical monitoring data. It's not hard. It's not hard to create a VPN and use that. So yes, I always say, yeah, don't use default unless you're just kind of getting started and you want something quick and dirty.
In fact, you can actually shut down the default message VPN. The reason is because let's say if your default is enabled and an application connects and specified a message VPN that didn't exist, it
Just
will
some
just
random
drop
name.
to
Yeah.
it will just drop to default. And you don't want that to happen. So you always want to keep the default message VPN, the default username, all that turned off in any formal environment.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Again, because this is running in my lab, I'm not quite so strict. I think if I'm inside my Aaron VPN here, I think my default is still enabled. Oh no, I shut it off. Look at that. I'm following best practices. So, um, exactly that. You don't actually need to write the word default. If you just write a username or a VPN name that doesn't exist, the broker is going to fall back to default. That's what default is for. It's kind of like your catch-all
It's a catch-all. Yep.
email address, right? It's like anything that doesn't actually exist, it's going to go to this last one, the default.
Yeah.
So
Or
yeah,
catch-all in my switch case block.
best practice for security and just ease of maintenance is always to create your own message VPN, create your own username. Don't use default for anything. That's a really good point.
Yes.
But not one that people really kind of realize until they're probably deployed and they're off and running, right? So I think we have In the docs, there are some best practices around kind of once you're ready to start using it in earnest, but I don't think it's front and center anywhere. So
Yes. Yeah, from a security perspective, you want to turn off all the defaults, and at the same time, you want to turn off all the features and services and ports unless you're using them. So that comes under our standard, hardening discussions. So before I take my application and deploy it to production, it should only expose whatever feature that is being used. Everything else should be turned off. And same applies to profiles and services on message VPNs and so on.
So this is the page that I was thinking of, and it's not one that most people know. I didn't even know this existed until not too long ago. But it kind of goes into next steps, like what are some of the things that you should do in terms of like once you kind of get your initial connectivity sorted out,
Mhm.
and you can see right at the very top here, they're talking about creating a message VPN for separate domains, and the security overview will give you some really good input on how you can secure your broker, making sure that it's set up properly. Solace, since day one, has been designed for high security environments. Enterprise grade security with TLS, SSL, all of the various ciphers. We support encryption per connection, client certificates, server certificates, Kerberos support,
We
OAuth,
support OAuth now.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, so a lot of different security options for those that are security minded when they're deploying their brokers, especially if it's, internet facing, public facing for connectivity with WebSockets, with REST, and all of our other open standards that you want to make sure are safe and secure there. That's a good tip or trick. You should put that in the tip or trick. You should post that up there, Shrikant.
I'll
Like
do that. Yes.
the deployment checklist. Make sure.
Yep.
Another really good reason for not using default, and this is a little bit more low level, is when you're using our show current config dump, to basically grab the configuration so that you can back it up or so that you can restore it at another time, or maybe move that configuration to another broker. If you're using the default VPN, because the default VPN exists everywhere, every broker has one. Even you can't actually remove it. You can only disable it.
Disable it. Yes.
If you try to take configuration from one default VPN and to try to apply it to another broker, you run into actually some issues. You'll get some exceptions being thrown out of that. So just from an ease of maintenance for configuration and management, you really need to not use the default VPN, to use application dash location dash environment, right? That's a kind of a common one we see. So stats / Singapore / dev would be a good VPN name, something like that. And again, you can visually just kind of tell from the name of your VPN what it's for, maybe where it's running, and what type of environment it is.
Okay. Do we have any more questions on the chat, or do you want one from me? Do we have time for one more?
Yeah, we definitely have time for one more. No, the chat's pretty quiet. We got Derek tuning in from Australia.
Hey, Derek,
Hey, Derek,
how you doing?
how you doing? Hope things are well down there in Oz. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Shrikant and I are just talking about all sorts of standard Q&A stuff that we get during training. So thanks for joining.
Okay, so just one
Yeah.
question that I got recently when I was discussing with a customer. So they have they're running this application that's connecting to Solace to ingest sensor data that's being produced, and when once you've deployed, and when you're thinking about your day 2 of operations, actually day 1 of operations, you want your system to be monitored, and if something goes wrong, you want an alert and all of that. Right. So the common way of doing these is, in Solace, you can stream out all our logs to a remote syslog server. Or if you're running a software broker, then you can send it out in Graylog format, or to Fluentd and stuff like that. And these enterprise monitoring tools can ingest this data and then alert on them if something happens, etc. So that's what I told them. But these guys had an issue. So it's more on network connectivity. So all of their enterprise monitoring was sitting in a separate zone, and from where the applications are running, and you couldn't directly send out the logs. So Solace couldn't establish a TCP connection and send out the logs. So they wanted
Okay.
to know if they could have an application that's running in the same zone as the broker, and connecting to the same message VPN, and somehow receive these events as messages. And because they are writing the application, so they can just spin up another application and just receives these events that go wrong. Sorry, events that describe an alert if something goes wrong,
Hmm.
and essentially achieve application monitoring.
Okay. Where's my pen? I
So
was just going to draw this while you were talking there. I've lost my
okay.
pen.
So yeah, so essentially, once again, to summarize, their question was: is there a way that I, as an application, can monitor my message VPN on the broker without forwarding all my logs to a remote syslog server, or to a Splunk, or to a FluentD, and all of that? Let's say that you can't, or you just want to, in addition to your infrastructure teams monitoring your broker, you as an application want to monitor your own message VPN and be alerted of that.
Hmm. Hmm. So,
So,
can you?
okay, yes, you certainly can. So the answer is to use a feature in Solace called subscribing to your real-time events. So a lot of people don't know this, but on your message VPN, there is a setting that's turned off by default. And if you turn it on, uh, we will publish all the events that occur on the message VPN. So these are message VPN resources reaching their thresholds, uh, clients connecting, disconnecting, all of that. We'll publish these as direct messages on certain predefined topics. So these topics are, they are defined in our documentation, and they start with hash log, followed by the severity of the event, the message VPN where it was generated on, the broker, all of that slash separated. So now what you can do is, and all of these are published as direct messages on topics, so they are not persisted. Everything is in memory. So as an
Mhm.
application, as a monitoring application, I can simply connect to the message VPN, subscribe to the type of event that I want to receive. So let's say that I only want to receive messages. Sorry, let's say that I only want to receive events about resource utilization. So when my message spool is reaching its 80%, or if my connections are reaching a certain threshold. So then I can simply subscribe to this particular event, so the one that you're showing on screen right now, and I can receive all this information as direct messages. And once I have the event, I can then, sky's the limit. I can feed it into another system, trigger an SMS, trigger a Slack message to a group saying that this particular event has occurred, and so on, all without going through, infrastructure monitoring or in addition to them.
That's right. I mean, the one really cool thing about the events over the Solace message bus is, well, two things. Number one, this is available for Solace Cloud. Getting syslog configured in the cloud is actually, you have to contact the team, and it's a bit more involved. Versus, you can just enable this and then listen to these events going on right away. But the other cool thing you'll notice is it actually takes advantage of Solace's hierarchical topic structure, right? So, the severity is one of the levels. System or VPN or client is another level. Which router or which broker that's coming from, the name of the event. So again, using wildcards, you can say, "Give me everything," or you can be very specific and just request that you only receive certain, everything that's a warn. I don't care about info. I just want warns. You could subscribe to, a warn here or a critical or whatever, right? So that kind of thing.
Or everything related to a particular message VPN or
That's
a
right.
particular client event.
Now we also have a monitoring tool, a monitoring capability called PubSub Plus Monitor. That is, that a lot of customers use. It's a SaaS. You can basically point your brokers, be they on-prem or in the cloud. You can point them to the Solace PubSub Plus Monitor, and it has a full-on dashboard for doing metrics and all that kind of cool stuff as well. So if you don't have your own monitoring application and you want a quick and easy way to monitor your Solace brokers out of the box, off the shelf, PubSub Plus Monitor is a great tool for that as well. So rather than building things yourself, some people just want to make, get it something off the shelf with support. That's another option there. Just Google Solace Monitor, I think. Yeah, PubSub Plus.
I believe we are calling. Is it being called Insights, Event Insights right now?
No, that's different.
Insights.
That's different. That's
okay.
just for the cloud. Yeah.
Oh, that's just for the cloud, is it? Okay.
That's right.
Yes, monitor.
Anyway, we're back at the top of the hour. It has been it's been an hour, and it's been.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, it goes quick, eh, Shrikant?
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks to everybody that tuned in and had a listen. I hope whoever is out there found this useful. We're happy to do these once in a while, maybe once a month or so. And yeah, Solace community is your place to go to find us and ask us other stuff and to tell us about all the cool things that you're building with Solace. Cool integrations. Are you using Solace with Spark? Are you using it with Apogee? Tell us about your technologies. Tell us about your blogs. Come and hang out with us.
Tips and tricks.
Tips and tricks, all that kind of stuff. Shrikant, thank you so much for being here today with me. It's been great having you. I'm going to head into the office tomorrow. Am I going to see you there?
Yes, I'll see you there in the office. I'll be there in the morning.
All right, sounds good. All right, so thanks everybody. This is Aaron and Shrikant logging off, signing off now. Thanks for joining, and
thanks everyone. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.